Armed with what he's calling a victory plan, Ukraine's president stops off in London as part of a rapid tour of European capitals.
Today I want, of course, to share with you the victory we are very count on you have a trial meeting.
Also in town and invited into Downing Street is NATO's new chief.
It's so good to have you here so early on in your
Afterwards, the former Dutch Prime Minister declines to divulge details about Ukraine's plan to repel Russia's invasion, but he says he hopes victory comes as soon as possible.
What is clearly the case is that we have to continue supporting them so that Zelenskyy, his team, Ukraine as a whole is in a strong position one day to when they decide enter into what form of negotiations.
A key request by Ukraine has been permission to use Western long-range missiles against targets inside Russia, something that the UK and other allies have yet to grant. Is it making Ukraine weaker, the fact that they haven't agreed this yet?
I am not sure. It is because there is this risk that we completely focus on one weapon system. The main issue here is making sure that the military aid continues to flow into Ukraine, and then one weapon system will not change the outcome of the war.
And do you think that Ollie should listen to Vladimir Putin when he's clearly threatened that should this permission be given about the long-range weapons that it would escalate? You'd see that as direct NATO involvement in the war. Should allies listen to Vladimir Putin's saber rattling?
No, they shouldn't. And they don't. NATO is strong. We can face any adversary. We have everything in place to make sure that NATO is safe, is secure, and that you can fight off any threat, and we will never be intimidated by anyone outside NATO trying to threaten us, so that is of no use. He could better stop that.
Against the backdrop of Russia's threats, NATO allies are about to start an annual nuclear exercise with aircraft but no actual munitions. What message do you hope that this nuclear exercise that NATO is taking sends to Moscow?
It is crucial that we test and strengthen our defense. We also clearly sent a message to our adversaries that we stand ready to basically be able to respond to any threat.
Obviously NATO is not currently playing any role in the Middle East crisis, but that is clearly a big crisis consuming the world, and NATO allies, individual allies, are involved in helping to defend Israel, for example. Would you consider a possibility that NATO might have to play a role in the crisis to defend Israel's skies in the event of a direct war with Iran?
Well, here first of all, I would like to go back to my predecessor who said NATO cannot solve everything. So NATO is really concentrating on the North Atlantic, on Canada, the US, Europe. So we cannot solve everything, and then clearly NATO allies are very much involved in trying to navigate this crisis, and it is a crisis so many people are losing lives on both sides, on three sides, in Gaza and Lebanon, but also of course, also Israel. Take only a look at what happened on the 7th of October, and over 1,000 people killed without any reason because of this terrorist attack which happened on the 7th of October. So it is a humanitarian disaster what is happening there, and of course we follow that closely, and I'm really happy for the fact that our allies are very much involved in trying to as best as possible navigate that crisis.
The US and British spy chiefs have raised the alarm about what they described as a reckless campaign of sabotage by Russian intelligence officers across Europe. Like, how worried are you as the new NATO chief of the threat posed by Russian intelligence officers launching sabotage attacks, arson, murder on European soil, and what is NATO doing to counter that and to deter it?
Of course, we have to take hybrid threats very seriously, and indeed the spy chief here in the UK gave a commanding speech, I could say, and a very authoritative address he had. I think it was yesterday. I read it, and of course we have to be aware of this, and this is something which we coordinate within NATO, the hybrid threats also, of course, at a level of the individual allies, but also collectively.
The biggest threat right now is to Ukraine. Here a Russian strike on President Zelensky's hometown of Kyiv. This country isn't yet a member of NATO, but it'll be hoping its allies have the strength and stamina to achieve Ukraine's vision of victory. Thanks for watching this video.